Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of As the Chronicles Turn. That is what I have labeled this chapter because it is just like a soap opera, I'm telling you. So let's get right to it because it's kind of a busy chapter. So we're studying 2 Chronicles 22. The Bible says, "The people of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, Jehoram's youngest son, king in his place, since the raiders who came with the Arabs into the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, king of Judah, began to reign." Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri. He too followed the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother encouraged him to act wickedly. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done, for after his father's death they became his advisors to his undoing. He also followed their counsel when he went with Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel, to wage war against Hazael, king of Aram, at Ramoth Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, so he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds they had inflicted on him at Ramoth in his battle with Hazael, king of Aram. Then Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to Jezreel to see Joram, son of Ahab, because he had been wounded. Through Ahaziah's visit to Joram, God brought about Ahaziah's downfall. When Ahaziah arrived, he went out with Joram to meet Jehu, son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. While Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, he found the officials of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's relatives who had been attending Ahaziah and he killed them. He then went in search of Ahaziah, and his men captured him while he was hiding in Samaria. He was brought to Jehu and put to death. They buried him, for they said, "He was a son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart." So there was no one in the house of Ahaziah powerful enough to retain the kingdom. Verse 10. Then Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead. She proceeded to destroy the whole royal family of the house of Judah. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the royal princes who were about to be murdered, and put him and his nurse in a bedroom. Because Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram and wife of the priest Jehoiada, was Ahaziah's sister, she hid the child from Athaliah so she could not kill him. He remained hidden with them at the temple of God for 6 years, while Athaliah ruled the land. Okay, so this evil queen ruled the land for 6 years. Her son before her only ruled for 1 year. So here we go. This is my Bible study, what I've written down about this. So y'all remember the story of Jezebel, right? She was evil. Her husband wanted a piece of property that was owned by a Christian man. Well, the Christian man wouldn't sell or give it to the king. So Jezebel developed this plot to have him killed. There would be a dinner, and then these two scoundrels would be sitting next to this man. I've forgotten his name, sorry. Would be sitting next on each side of this Christian man that owned the property. And during the dinner, they would accuse him of blaspheming the king. the penalty for blaspheming the king is to be stoned to death. So these guys accused him of blaspheming. And the man, the Christian man, was taken out immediately and stoned to death. And then Jezebel went to her husband because he couldn't have this piece of property. He was laying in bed all whoopy and sad and everything. So she went to her husband and said, "Get up. So-and-so is dead. Now go and get the land you want." Remember that? And God said that Jezebel, the dogs would lick up Jezebel's blood. And they did. I mean, she was just an evil person. So she was just evil. Well, guess who her daughter is? Athaliah. Yep. And Jezebel taught her daughter everything she knew, and the daughter expanded on it. Athaliah was the wife of Jehoram. And remember, Jehoram is the son of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat thought he was doing right. We learned this a few chapters ago. He thought he was doing right to make a treaty, I guess you would call it, with Israel. You've got Judah and you've got Israel. Jehoshaphat and Ahab. And so he thought he was doing right. He was going to combine them, maybe get them back to worshiping God instead. I don't know exactly what all was going through Jehoshaphat's mind, but he decided he would have his son Jehoram marry Ahab's daughter Athaliah. Athaliah is Jezebel's daughter. Evil. Evil with a capital E. I think I said that at the end of the last chapter. So, anyway, let's back up a little bit. That's going to give y'all a little background of how all of this comes about. But let's back up a little bit. At the very beginning of the chapter, there must have been some sort of a struggle or something when it came to Ahaziah taking over as king. Because up until this point, up until this chapter, when the son took over, the Bible would read, "And so ruled in place of his father." But here, the first verse reads, "The people of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, Jehoram's youngest son, king in his place, since the raiders, or the Philistines, who had came in with the Arabs into the camp and killed all the older sons." So there's something to that. I haven't dug greatly into that, but there's something to the wording that we need to take note of. Now, verses 3 through 8, Ahab is mentioned in every one of those verses. This shows what kind of influence Ahab had on Ahaziah. Verse 4, for example, says, "Like Ahab, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord." With that being said, I'm thinking with Mom's influence like it was, and all of his advisors that were from Ahab, they were trying to strategically take over Judah. Now remember, Jehoshaphat thought he was doing good by marrying Jehoram into this family, and now it's backfiring on Judah. Just my thoughts, just my thoughts. Verse 7. This is a key verse right here. It says, "Through Ahaziah's visit to Joram, God brought about Ahaziah's downfall. When Ahaziah arrived, he went out with Joram to meet Jehu, son of Nimshi. Now Jehu, son of Nimshi, had been anointed by the Lord to destroy the house of Ahab. So if Nimshi is to destroy Joram, which is part of Ahab's house, and Ahaziah has aligned himself with Joram and is actually at Joram's house, guess what? Ahaziah is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and all of this was planned by God. If we're living a life away from God, doing evil, God is going to be mad at us. God is a gracious God, but He can get mad at us too if we're doing wrong. And if we happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and God was already going to destroy your pal that you've been hanging out with, well, guess what? You're going to get destroyed too. It may not be in the way that Ahaziah was destroyed, but it's coming. This is a warning to all of us, because look how easy it was for Israel, the northern country, to infiltrate Judah. It just took that marriage of Jehoram to Athaliah that Jehoshaphat thought in his mind he was doing something smart and good, but in reality it was not smart and it was not good at all, because now Jehoram has been king and he has allowed Ahab to penetrate Judah. It's just as easy for the enemy to infiltrate us. It only takes one step off the right path to get you moving in the wrong direction. Remember that. That one step is critical. You've got to continue on the right path that God has you on, because if you take one step off, you're going to continue to go this way when God has you going should have had you going this way. All right? So just be careful of that. And now we get to the soap opera part of Chronicles. Verse 10. When Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to destroy the whole royal family, y'all. The whole royal family of the house of Judah. I mean, say what? This is stuff that would be in the movies and not real life, right? She knocked off the whole royal family. The whole thing. But her daughter took Joash, the youngest, and stole him away and put him in a bedroom with his nurse. And later they moved him to the temple with the nurse, knowing that the temple is not a place where this evil woman would ever go. And they remained hidden for 6 years. Talk about a sick and twisted, conniving woman. I mean, like, wow. I cannot believe this actually happened, but it did. It's written here in the book of the Bible. It's the truth. Athaliah was so evil. Think about this. How can a grandmother do this to her grandsons? How can she kill them? Remember that her husband, the king, had already killed off all of his brothers when he first took over as king. And she did all of this just because she wanted to be queen and rule the country. And she was queen for at least 6 years anyway. And you don't see anywhere in this Bible where it announces her rule like it has in the past with the other kings, like we talked about at the beginning of this chapter. The Bible doesn't give us really any details of her reign. We can only assume that it was bad. I have no doubt that Satan was behind this. None whatsoever. But you know what? God thwarted Satan's reign by helping hide this child away for a later time to come. And this child will rule the land of Judah. This reminds me of the story of Moses, in that Moses' mother hid him away so that he wouldn't be killed. And then Pharaoh's daughter finds Moses and raises Moses up right under Pharaoh's nose. I have always thought that that was just the most hilarious thing. The king, the Pharaoh, that was trying to kill all of these children has one that his daughter is raising right there in the palace with him. Blows my mind. Anyway, and then what happens with that with Moses? Moses rose up over the Israelites and led them away from the evil Pharaoh. Now, I'm not going to give anything away, so I don't know, as of this chapter right here, I don't know what happens with this child from here. But I do know that God is in control, and whatever evil Satan has planned will be destroyed by God. And we're going to leave that right there until next week when we find out what happens to the child Joash. See? I told y'all it's like a soap opera. The Bible is full of this stuff. Tune in next week to find out more. Bye. See y'all later. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Bible. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends.